Hey everyone, back on Bowling with the Fef after a week off, a little R&R time with the family, took a little trip to Ohio. You would be amazed at the number of touristy things you can do and see in Ohio, as we learned firsthand. But, a road trip isn't complete without a visit to a few bowling centers, right? We stopped by at Royal Pin Woodland Bowl as they were hosting the Storm Youth Championships. Also swung by Columbus, shook hands with the great Wayne Webb. And we tried to stop by at AMF Riviera, they just weren't open. But a great trip in the end. Ohio is great, it's not Wisconsin. But, like I said, a lot to do and see in Ohio, and glad to have the time off. But now it's good to be back with a Hall of Fame guest, so here we go.
Bowling with the Fef?
Bowling with the Fef?
Get Fef.
Got it.
Hello.
This lane, I think.
I would like to challenge Matt Bozak.
Scotty Bull.
Jason Belmasi.
Well, hey everybody, good Wednesday evening, and welcome to another episode of Bowling with the Fef, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel. It's great to be back. As I said, lots of bowling stuff in Indiana and Ohio. Glad to see that. I don't know if my family was so glad about that, but it certainly kept me interested and entertained through that week. But thanks for bearing with me on a week off. Lots of great stuff in the past and certainly to come, as we've got guests actually booked on the show really into September. Proud to to say that and kind of be set for a little while on the guest front. But we've got a great one tonight that we're going to get to in just a moment. So this week has been full of news. Top of the list, really, is the new rule regarding urethane and what the PBA is calling urethane-like bowling balls. Because they've got a new rule that they're going to use next year and beyond. Yesterday, the PBA announced starting on January 6th, those urethane or urethane-like bowling balls that the pros use have to have a hardness measurement of 78 or above. The current standard is 73 right now. That's the previous minimum. And this is just for PBA events. So we're talking PBA Tour, the regional, PBA Junior, stuff like that. Also starting on the 6th, all balls used on the PBA National Tour, just the National Tour now, have to be manufactured on or after August 1st of 2022. That's so all bowling balls, and we're talking all types of surfaces, cover stocks, I should say, will have a minimum hardness of 73. The PBA's study of the urethane bowling balls shows that they get softer with use, with or without oil on the lane, and to the tune of several hardness points in just 10 shots. So that's why they made that decision to go with that minimum 78 hardness for the urethane and urethane-like bowling balls. They do have a list of potential penalties if there are violators out there. They include ball being disqualified, fines, and even up to and including suspension after 4 offenses. Also, if any ball ever tests below 67, that's considered a PBA Code of Ethics violation and could be a suspension at the discretion, rather, of the commissioner. So we'll see how that goes. Again, doesn't start until January 6th, but it'll be interesting to see, about the urethane and the impact on how many guys use it and how effective it is. Jay's with us. Is this live? It sure is. Different kind of open tonight. Figured I'd mix it up a little because we took off last week. But thanks for joining us. Always appreciate Jay being on. And if you are with Jay and watching us live, be sure and chime in. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And if you're on replay, leave us a comment. I read them all and would love to get back to you if you have questions about the show or any types of comments about it. Well, the show always looks the way it does because of Chip Magnet salsa. Chip Magnet is a local product, at least local to me. It's made in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. They distribute salsas, relish, and a whole lot more to stores in more than 38 states and Canada. If you are in the Milwaukee area, you can get your Chip Magnet fix right there in town at Woodman's, Sendik's, Festival Foods, Pick and Save, Metro Market, Outpost, several Piggly Wiggly stores, and Metcalf's in Wauwatosa. And if you are not in the Milwaukee area or just prefer online shopping, they've got a deal for you. You can enter that promo code BWTF2023 at checkout. You get 20% off your purchase of $30 or more on chipmagnetsalsa.com. Limit one order per email address. A fantastic deal if you're looking to raise your own snack standards by checking out Chip Magnet, and I highly encourage you to do. It's a great product. Chip Magnet, raise your snack standards. And thank you so much to Chip Magnet for supporting Bowling with the Fef. And yes, it is great, Jay. Great to be live, great to be back, and great to have you watching along with everybody else. Well, as I mentioned before, our guest is a great one. She's a Hall of Famer. She took on the best in the world 30 years ago, became a champion. Jill Weber competed as Jill Albrecht then, and her LPBT Tour title was just the beginning of what she'd accomplish in bowling in a 7-year span. She won 3 USBC Women's Championships, setting up her recent induction into the USBC Hall of Fame, the big one. So I'm happy to have her here on the show, Jill Weber from Wind Lake, Wisconsin, Wisconsin's own, and wearing the best sweatshirt of any previous guest on this show. Milwaukee bowling is the best, not just because I used to be on that team, but welcome. It's great to have you here, Jill.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
I just learned a whole bunch of stuff in your opening, so
wow. Okay.
very educational.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting season, that's for sure. Jay says he makes his own, but thanks though. All right, fair enough. So, I want to talk to you about the Hall of Fame first, because, as I mentioned, we were in Ohio, and part of that trip, of course, if you go to Ohio and you're a football fan like me, you're going to go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So we did. And when you go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, on that first level where you enter it, they have all the new Hall of Famers, the ones who will be inducted later this summer. And if you go around the corner of the exhibit, there's a video screen where it shows the moment that each of them learns that they're going into the Hall of Fame. Now, we saw your induction speech, but we never saw that moment, that point where you learned that you were going to be in the USBC Hall of Fame. So tell us about that. How did that happen?
Yeah, it was about 3 years ago or 3 years prior. My friend Gina Dershesky, who nominated me, kind of broke the secret that she was nominating me because she needed to get a little bit more information from me.
Okay.
And so it's been 3 years in the making. And all of a sudden, one evening, I was just sitting watching TV, saw a number pop up on my phone that I didn't recognize. And typically, I never answer those.
Yep.
For some reason, I answered it. And it was the call saying, hey, you've been chosen to be inducted. I'm like, really? I says, it's the big one? And she goes, it's the big one. And she was, I don't know who was more excited.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I got off the phone and told my husband, and I'm like, I had all the different emotions. It was like, awesome, this is so cool. Like, and then it was, oh no, I got to do a speech. I got to do a lot of prep. There's a lot that has to be done now. So
Yeah.
no, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Unexpected.
Sure, but certainly deserved, and I would even say overdue. Tell me about the ceremony then. You make the trip out to Las Vegas, and you go to this ceremony with all the movers and shakers, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
What was it like?
Well, I didn't really know what to expect. Years ago, I've gone to the inductions for a couple of the bowlers that I bowled with on tour that were still are close friends. So Wendy McPherson and Carol Giannotti. But when I went to theirs, it was several years in the previous. It was a little different. And then we had some other local people, Gus Yanaris and Dale Traber, that have recently been inducted, and I asked them about it. And all they really told me is it's a blur. It'll be fun. Embrace it. Just take a moment to appreciate it. So I wasn't really nervous. I was excited and anxious until they played my intro, and then I knew I was going to be up there next. And I leaned over and I said, "Okay, now I don't want to do this." So no, it was really cool. I think when I got to the day of the induction, we went to the convention. We got introduced there. When I came out, I saw our big Florida 7-foot tall photos of ourselves, these big banners that were lined up along the hallway of the convention. I have several pictures of myself with those and my friends with those, and I show everybody that all the time because that really kind of made my heart skip a beat, thinking this really is a big deal. I guess I think I feel like I have a little bit of imposter syndrome in some ways. So then when we get into the actual hall and I had a couple drinks just to lighten the mood and everything, and just all the interactions and talking with everybody from Hall of Famers who are already there, and my fellow class that was being inducted. I had several friends that came out. I think we had like 13, 15 people that came out. My family, all but one brother was able to make it, which was very, very special. My mom and dad, my dad, I mean, he's the one that got our whole family into bowling. So, and he's 80 years old. We rented him a scooter and he was good to go. So it was cool. I guess the one thing that when I got on stage, it was so dry in there. Yeah. My mouth got so dry. I hit all my bullets that I had on my little note cards, but I wanted to get into a few more funny stories and things like that. But no, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was better than I expected it to be.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if the nerves were going or anything like that, you didn't show it. I mean, I thought you did a fantastic job delivering that speech. And, just a tremendous accomplishment. I mean, what does being in that Hall of Fame with that class of bowlers mean to you?
I'll be honest. I never thought I would get into the National Hall of Fame. It really was never a goal of mine. The local Milwaukee Association Hall of Fame, the State Hall of Fame, those I thought I'd have a really good chance of being in there. So it means everything because I never really anticipated or saw myself in there. Yeah. I mean, I did go to was it in Arlington? That's where the Hall of Fame is. We went there once just to visit years and years ago. And I guess I still didn't picture myself in there. Yeah. Because of all the caliber that's out there. So no, it's just very special. I just never expected it. And I'm just very honored that I was chosen to be in there.
Yeah, well, certainly cool for all of us, who remember your career, who know of you from the state. It's really awesome for us too. Jay chimes in, says, forgive his lack of familiarity here. Has to ask, and then he'll be quiet and listen. He says, are you related to the famous Bowling-Weber family?
I am not. You're talking about Pete Weber, Dick Weber.
Dick Weber? Okay.
No, I married into a Weber family from Waukesha, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Actually, in my speech, I was going to say something about what did bowling give to me, and I was going to joke about a couple husbands. So this is my second. But my maiden name is Albrecht, so I'm related to a lot of the Albrechts in the state. I have a brother that bowled on tour for a short time, just tried it out when he was young. But yeah, most of my major bowling accomplishments were happening when I was started 15. When I was 15, I went to adults when I was 15. I bowled the Peterson. That was my first tournament as an adult. Yeah. So Albrecht is more the claim to fame for the bowling family.
Sure. And he says, how many PBA, and I think he's saying PWBA titles do you have? You have New Orleans in 1993.
Right. I have one national title, New Orleans, and I have a regional title. I think I had one summer regionals where I was second like 3 or 4 times, and I finally won one.
Okay.
But and that was yet another. I don't remember a lot of things, right? We're getting older. But one thing I do remember about that title in New Orleans was, it's kind of funny, I think. I ended up beating Tish Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I was, I think, third qualifier, and I won my first match. And then I had to bowl against my roommate, Sandra Jo Shirey.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get the first 2 strikes, I believe, to beat her in the 10th frame. I did, and then she pointed at me. She was, "You better win this now that you did that." So I bowled Tish. And then when I got to the 10th frame, I needed a mark and then some count. And this is how focused I was, because they don't tell you what you need. You got to figure it out yourself when you look over to the score sheet.
Yeah. So
I'm up on the approach shooting my first shot. For some reason, I'm thinking 9 spare. You need a mark. It's a mark.
Yeah.
When I shot the ball, I remember it was Lori Nichols's voice, "Gary." And then I thought for a brief second, oh, that's right, a strike would work too. It's so weird what goes through your head when that happens. And I struck. And then I'm thinking, okay, did I add this right? Was that enough? What do I need? So I'm looking over and I started to tremble a little bit, threw the next shot, and I struck again. Then I knew I did.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, hold it together, Jill, hold it together. And got my last one. And I know I got some tears going, and the ugly cry happened. And it was really cool. It was really cool.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yes, one title. See, I have long answers.
That's okay. No, don't apologize. Those are the best kinds of answers. It gives us some context. So we actually met in person at the Wisconsin USBC Hall of Fame. You were there, I'm assuming, supporting this lady, getting her Hall of Fame plaque and delivering a speech of her own. That's Tracy Brown. Tell me about Tracy. Why was it important for you to be there for her?
I've known Tracy for many years. Bowled with her many tournaments, teams. She lived in Illinois for a while. We went and bowled Springfield together. We have so much fun together. We bowled in Kenosha. In Kenosha, we bowled a doubles tournament. Won that. Her and her husband George and her daughter Gabby, there's wonderful people. Love the sport of bowling, excellent bowlers, and just a good representation of what you want in someone representing our state for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Super person.
Yeah. Always cool to see that. And that's just one of 4 Hall of Fame speeches that's on this channel. If you haven't seen them yet, all of you out there, you can find them. They're in their own playlists. They're from earlier this month, and fantastic moment for bowling in Wisconsin, that's for sure. And Jay says, congratulations. What an honor as a bowler to have done that, to have gotten into the National USBC Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I happened to learn, I'm not want to toot my own horn, but this Hall of Fame induction thing has kind of made me have to talk about things. And when I was asked to attend the Milwaukee Association Awards banquet, like a week after you and I had seen each other.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they're making me like kind of like the guest of honor in a sense. And I had to speak and say a few things, but Roy Brandt, who was the moderator and host there, he told me that I'm only the second woman in the state to have what they call, I guess, a trifecta.
Okay.
So Milwaukee, state, and now National Hall of Fame from Wisconsin. Carol Miller was the other one.
Okay.
So that gave me the chills just now saying that. I guess I always bowl because I love the sport. I like competition. I'm type A personality, very competitive, want to win, want to do my best. And when I won, I was excited. I got my trophy, my money, whatever it was. And okay, let's get to the next one. I never really thought awards, recognition, Hall of Fames and things like that. I just bowled.
Yeah.
So that's why some of this is kind of more of a shock and surprise. And if I really think about it and I think about what my accomplishments have been, I get it, for a lot of that. National, I don't know, that took a little bit more for me to get, but I just love bowling.
But it just goes to show that love for the sport and that competitive spirit is the right concoction to get you to these, extreme highs in our sport. And it's awesome to see, even for those of us who, in some little way kind of go along for the ride with you because like I said, same state or we know you or things like that. The title of this episode, and I kind of struggled with this for a while, and I usually kind of default to cliches like ties that bind, but it seems like your career and the people that I've talked to who know you best really have some tight bonds with you that started from bowling. I asked Jenny Wonders, who was a previous guest on our show, about you, just knowing that you guys are from a similar area. She told me that she admires you tremendously as a bowler and a person, and that you were like a big sister to her. You two used to email every day. Matt Hibbard, who's in the description to this show, says that you two aren't actually related, but he's known you as Auntie Jill his whole life because you were close friends and bowled frequently with his mom and dad. What's it like to really gain family out of these bowling friendships?
Well, it's pretty special, and it's really nice to see those words that both of them have mentioned. I tell you what, I mean, bowling in itself made. I wouldn't have known these individuals without bowling. And whether it happened at a very young age, later in life, or wherever it happened, the adventures, the experiences, the birthdays, the Christmases, all that stuff that came about, it's a big extended family. And sometimes I may not see somebody for many years or something like that, but then when you see them again, you catch up, and it's like you've never lost a beat. It's like family reunions, and I bet, and I don't think that's a unique situation. I think most people in bowling and in whatever sport that they may be in, it's something that happens. But I like to think that they wanted to continue friendships because we had a shared bond. We had good experiences. We liked each other. Didn't think I was, that kind of person that wouldn't be open to continue friendships and things like that. They know that when I'm on the lanes, if I'm bowling a tournament, when I'm up on the approach, it's all about the bowling. But as soon as I let go of the ball, come back, then it's about everybody else. I'm very serious on the approach. But yeah, I think back this whole, to kind of tie this up a little bit with the people and my friends and all that, going through this experience with the Hall of Fame and having to go look back at photos and stories and articles. I had them in several boxes here and there, and I don't know how much I laughed at. I don't know if it's the hair photos from the early 90s, with the big hair, or just remembering when I was in college, I bowled for a technical school. I bowled for a Milwaukee area technical school. We went and bowled at Whitewater. We bowled a bunch of invites and stuff. It got me thinking about some of those stories and some friends I met there. And I think that was one of the coolest things about this whole experience, is reflecting back and seeing things from the past and reminiscing. I actually ran into somebody that I hadn't seen probably in 30 years. Went with me from college. She went with me to Bismarck, North Dakota. Bismarck, I'll just say
North
Bismarck,
Dakota, yeah.
For nationals. It was a 12-hour drive. Her and I went there. We kept a journal along the way. We laughed. I think I was 18, 19. Got there, bowled nationals, and actually I did pretty well. I was in the top 10 for, I think, all of the events. Bowled the Queens, missed a cut by one pin.
Oh.
One pin. So now here we are in Bismarck, not old enough to drink, not old enough to gamble. What do you do in Bismarck? So, we're laying in the room, and we looked at each other, and we looked at the clock, and we're like, 7 p.m. If we leave now, we can be home by 7 a.m. and we can pack fast enough. But like little fun stories like that. So, and I just ran into her, and I hadn't seen her probably in almost 30 years.
Oh, cool.
Just weird. And that brought all those memories.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And that's something you hold on to for life, for sure. When you get back to the beginning, Your parents obviously have some bowling history, but how did you get into the sport initially?
100% my parents. So when I was, we had to be about third grade-ish. We lived in a small town, Michigan, for all you who are around this area. We just had a ranch house. My dad converted the garage into a pro shop.
Oh.
My dad's known as Corky.
Okay.
His name's Dennis Albrecht, but Corky is how everybody around this area knows him. And he bowled in the Milwaukee, bowled in the Metro Leagues. He bowled non-pros. He's a good bowler. Has 800, 300, all that stuff. But that's the earliest memory I have is the pro shop. And then we ended up owning a bowling center in Wind Lake for a short bit, about 5 years or so.
Okay.
And we just bowled. We actually lived there.
Yeah.
So you open up the door from our kitchen, it went into the pool room of the bowling center.
Oh.
I used to have people sleep over, and we used to sleep on the lanes, on the approaches.
Oh,
It was an 8-lane center. We'd have our dogs out there. They sleep over on Fridays, and Saturday we'd have our junior leagues, and we wake up and you could see dog prints all over the lanes because we were playing hide and seek on the lanes. We'd hide in the masking units and things like that. So I remember all those. So that's kind of where it started, and that's when I just bowled. It's weird. It's like I just bowled and didn't think about it, and then I had some success at that age. Back then there was like Stars of Tomorrow and stuff, and they used to have the bantam and juniors and stuff, and I think I was third in the nation one year or something like that. I remember getting a photo with an award or whatever. We had bowling with the junior champs.
Mhm.
I think that's a Wisconsin thing for people, but I don't know. Do you remember bowling with the champs?
I do.
General, right?
Yep, absolutely. I'm from that area, so and I
Do you
lived.
remember bowling with the junior champs?
I know of it. Don't remember seeing it, but then again, we moved away when I turned 10. So I remember watching those shows, Bowling with the Champs, Bowling Game. But yeah, the memories are kind of,
Yeah.
kind of
We were
faint.
on all those.
But yeah.
We're on, and then bowling with the junior champs. What was cool about that in so many ways was, I was 12 from my small town. I've always lived at least half an hour, 45 minutes south of Milwaukee. Was
Okay.
never really considered a Milwaukee bowler, especially in juniors. I bowled. I got to the finals. I had a bowl as 10-year-old. Okay, I'm 6 foot. I've been 6 foot ever since 8th grade. So when I was 12, I think I probably was like 5'10".
Okay.
And I remember when they panned the audience or the bowlers, they'd have the bowlers and then they'd have me and then they'd have, it's really kind of funny. Anyway, so I ended up winning for that age. And the person I bowled cried and I'm like, man, what a little baby, Fast forward, that's one of my best friends, Gina Dereshevsky. She was Gina Porras at the time. First time I ever met her, she was 10. And then a few years later, when I started bowling in Milwaukee a little bit more, she ended up being on my team and we've been best friends ever since.
Wow.
So
do you remember what kind of turned the tide between, oh my gosh, she's, just this little girl who's crying to we're friends, moving forward?
Sure, 100%. So I've been very fortunate. Most of my successes at a very, very young age. So I went into adults when I was 15. They needed a bowler to bowl on a Peterson squad. For most people are familiar with the Peterson.
Sure.
And this is when it was in the original spot where you walked up the stairs, in that part of Chicago.
Yeah.
So that was my first. I'm like, okay, I'm a bowl adult now, and bowled that tournament. And then not too long after this, I bowled non-pros and some other tournaments. Remember bowling a non-pro in Madison, 15, and I won it. And Jeff Riggles wrote an article. I remember that article that he wrote. And then a lady by the name of Irene Bolton. I don't know the exact details, but talked to my parents about, hey, can your daughter bowl with us Tuesdays in Milwaukee at Coolidge's West Milwaukee? It's a women's league. Starts at 9 p.m. 5-person team on a Tuesday night.
Well,
I'm 15.
Don't wait up.
And then I said this in part of my speech. I said, I don't know if my parents were geniuses or crazy, maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I always had to have somebody drive me until he turned 16.
Sure.
But she recruited me as a youngster. I bowled with her daughter, Chris Holshoe, Lynn Tyree, and Doris Hollowick, and many different legends in the area. And well, I have to say, I never missed a day of school the next day.
There you go.
So it was good. Well, a few years later, she recruited Gina. I think Gina was 17 when she joined our team. And as soon as she joined our team, we kind of like looked at each other like, okay, we kind of know each other a little bit. And, you know, within minutes, there was no animosity or anything like that. I mean, we were 10 and 12 when we first met. So we got along and we've been tight ever since.
Yeah.
It just happened.
Yeah. Of course, you had the success with Gina. I bowled at Classic Greenfield in the 90s. I know her abilities. She's fantastic. But in your speech, you said she'll be in here in the next year or two. I promise you that. I guarantee you that. For people who don't know Gina or haven't seen her compete, why are you so confident that she'll be in?
Well, the titles I have at USBC are the same ones she has. So we were on the same teams. And we both, our team, I mean, we had, you know, Wendy McPherson, Carol Giannotti, Marlis Tapp. Marlis Tapp will be another one that will get in there. And then Gina and I won doubles together for nationals. Her credentials, just even in the state, she's in the Milwaukee and Wisconsin Hall of Fames, being a proprietor and what she does for bowling. She could probably be in several categories because she's done so much for the sport, plus just her ability. I don't know, she have like 20 plus 300 games and, you know, several 800s and stuff like that. But she's just such a solid person and a solid bowler. And no doubt, just a matter of filling out the forms.
Yeah.
She'll be in there.
Flawless physical game. Just flawless. I mean, she's that good. So you're coming up through the ranks. You're bowling these non-pro things. And you end up in Milwaukee Technical College and bowling for that team. And I'd heard that because, now the PBA just made this announcement about Leaf trading cards. Well, I've got some of the originals here. So, I try not to stray too far from my 1991 Strike Force LPBT trading cards, but on there it says that you bowled at MATC. I was in it a few years later, and MATC wasn't in our conference or anything. So tell me about that. How you ended up on that team, what it was like for you, to compete against some of the UW schools with them.
Well, this is going to be a little bit longer of a story because you got to have some backstory to this.
Yeah.
So when I was 17, my senior year of high school, that was the year that they kind of changed the formatting of how to get into the Team USA because they were trying to get into the Olympics and all that. Yeah. So they had a format where I think it was one male, one female from each state qualified through their state. And then the finals, it was in Milwaukee. That's when the headquarters was still there.
Yeah.
Well, I was the one that qualified from the state to represent the women. Okay. And Rich Wonders, Jenny's dad, was the male from the state.
Yeah.
So I missed the first week of high school senior year to bowl Team USA.
Wow.
That week alone stands out as one of the best weeks of my life for so many reasons. Some I can't even say on here, but for so many reasons. But I actually got recruited from Barb Peltz and Gordon Vatican to go to Wichita.
Okay.
Or they were trying to recruit me and all that. Yeah. And that's where I met Sandra Jo Shirey, who became my roommate on tour. And, I made the first cut to that, and then I didn't make the team and all that. But when I was deciding where I was going to go to college, Wichita, I actually enrolled in Wichita without ever going there. Talked to Barb, talked to Gordon, all that, and gave me all this, a little bit of work study stuff, a little bit of scholarship money they had at that time, all that. And one day I was just thinking about stuff at home. Here I'm bowling weekend tournaments. I'm making money bowling. Back then you could do a lot more, and now I think you can even. But I decided, why do I want to go 8 hours away when I can go to a technical college, bowl. I went for graphic design, and they had a great program there. And I could still be here, bowl on the weekends, and make some money. That's kind of how my mind was working at that time.
Sure.
So I just decided I'm not going to go to Wichita. I'm going to go to MATC. I went downtown Milwaukee. Their campus experience was really cool. I felt like I had like a little taste of what maybe a 4-year college would have been like to some degree without staying over there.
Yeah.
They had a team, and the coach of our team was also the newspaper editor of the MATC paper. We bowled at it's Riviera Lanes now, but it was B&B Bowl then, and we got to go to invites like to Wichita, like I mentioned, or not Wichita, Whitewater, and some of those other ones. Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of how I ended up bowling there. And what was cool about it is, it's kind of, I don't know if it's the same way, but that's probably different now. We would just bowl at B&B. We would post our scores. Mm-hmm. And that's how you competed against everybody in your conference.
Oh, okay.
So we never really bowled against other technical teams, except for when we went to state. And we bowled up in Eau Claire at Wagner 67.5 lanes.
Yeah.
I think I probably averaged about 160 when I bowled there, but I averaged like 218, 220 in the actual league. It was hilarious. Yeah. But going to Whitewater for their invites and things like that, I got the taste of college bowling in so many different ways. We bowled the Midwest Collegiate. Mm-hmm. And that's when they had the roll off and all that. And my first experience there being in the roll off, that's when they had the counters. And everybody would stand on the counter. There was people everywhere cheering for your person from your team. And it was the coolest experience.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I did it that way. I don't regret it. Because then once I graduated, I had a half a year before I turned 21. And I'm not even sure why, but I decided I was going to go on tour. Figured its timing was perfect. When I bowled, in between that time, I bowled a tour event in South Bend. My sister and I rode there, saw Sandra Jo there. We got chit-chatting. That's when she was an amateur. And I told her what I was going to do. And she was like, well, if you go out there, call me. Maybe I'll go out there with you.
Oh, cool.
She won that tournament as an amateur. So she was the first one to win that pro tournament as an amateur for the women. Yeah. And then, shortly after that, I called her up and she's like, all right. So we traveled. So mixing some of my stories together, but that's how I went to MATC.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so, that kind of covers my next question, because I was going to ask you, how you end up on tour after that. But what's it like? I mean, this is you two, you and Sandra Jo are pretty new, and you're trying to find your way among these either new or established pros on a strange tour in different cities. And what's that like for you to kind of get used to?
It was pretty cool, actually. So you watch the tour, you watch all the women bowling back then. That was when Lisa Wagner was the bomb, right? She was everything.
Yeah.
And Sandra Jo bowled some other tournaments, and she got to meet some of the other ladies out there. She knew a few more than I did. I didn't really know anybody except for her. And Sandra Jo is almost 6 feet tall. So here you got two of us coming in, like the Twin Towers coming in. But it was nice. We rode together. We drove together. People were so friendly out there. And we hooked up right away with Stacy Ryder. And Carol Giannotti wasn't out there yet. She came like the next swing that we were going to be out, but they hung out together. Wendy McPherson was there, and a few others. I don't remember exactly, but we all were around the same age, early 20s. We just want to have fun. We all loved the bowl. Obviously, we're out there, and we just all clicked. And I remember it was the first week I was on tour. I ended up at a dinner table at a restaurant with Lisa Wagner.
Oh.
And our other people. And so now I'm a little starstruck. And it was cool. She was very nice to meet and a good person and all that stuff. But I did get a good insight to the real interworkings of tour and how it runs. and how it works. I got a little deflated. I have to be honest.
Okay.
You see what you see on TV, but when you see the behind the scenes turmoil and struggles and things that are going on that you didn't realize, it sobers you up a little bit, but it didn't stop me from still just wanting to compete and be part of it. So
yeah, certainly a lot more ladies that don't make those TV shows than do, and you got to keep fighting. And for you, it took what, 3 years before you won?
Before I won, correct. I made a telecast the first year, my rookie year.
Okay.
I made it in Rockford. I believe I was, I forget, 3rd or 5th or something like that. I did struggle the first year where I ended up getting tendonitis in my wrist, my thumb, because the way my balls were being drilled were not proper. I didn't realize it. And I went through a period there where I would lock in the ball, and my roommates would laugh when they'd hear big thunk, and they're like, "Oh no, that's Jill," and then we should wear a helmet and all that. And the reason why I even say that is because my first year, I had people telling me, "Oh, you're gonna get rookie of the year." Well, when I had my hand struggles, I didn't do as well.
Yeah.
I remember at the U.S. Open, I tell this story, and now everybody's gonna know this story. It's one of the stories I would tell when I was helping coach at UW-M, because Danielle Hibbard was like the main coach, and she's just phenomenal with her skills and technique and everything. I was kind of there more for the head game, help the ladies, if they were struggling or, on the verge of wanting to cry or crying or something like that. I would tell them some stories. I was always good for stories. I baked them treats and I would tell them stories. That's how I coached, right? So
that's a good combination.
So the U.S. Open, I think it was Satellite Bowl, Detroit, and I shot an 82 game. Oh, that is like the lowest. That was the most embarrassing thing I've ever had done. And I did not cry. My claim to fame, I did not cry. Yeah. And I remember Tish coming over and asking me if I was okay, because they knew I had some troubles and stuff. And that's really what was happening. I was locking in the ball and stuff. And I just shook my head. I'm like, I'm fine. If I would have talked, I would have cried. Yeah. But anyway, what I did after that is Marlis Tapp, she also hung with us, and her husband, Charlie, had his pro shop there. He's like, let's take a look at your equipment. And he's the one that found that it was getting drilled a little too long and stuff like that. Anyway, that week they gave us AMF Bobcat bowling balls. So he re-drilled that one to fit my wrist and my span and everything. And I ended up like in the middle of the pack. I didn't cash, but when people walk by, they're like, is that score right? My minus that I had. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, because I actually was bowling well after that. So, it's the first year out there was a lot of ups, a lot of downs, but it's just awesome. Yeah. Just people I met through Santa Jo, and as we started adding more people and people got to know us, they knew that we had fun and that we were serious. So yeah, it was awesome.
That's that's kind of cool that you mentioned Tish Johnson, who's there at probably your lowest point, and guess what? She's the one who you've got to beat to get to your highest point. And it was a pretty close match. I mean, you guys were neck and neck. And then I believe in the 8th frame, she pushed one past the 4-pin.
4-pin?
It was a 4-7.
Yeah, she missed it.
And didn't make that spare. And you've heard it a million times. I've heard it a million times. That's when you've got to pounce and, get the double to win. And you did. There's almost kind of a, at Tish's expense, there's kind of a beautiful irony there, isn't there?
And I never connected those dots. That's the first time that makes a lot of sense. And you're right. Absolutely. And Tish, great person. She's always been great with me in that. She did smash my head in a cake after that to celebrate. I deserved it. I beat her in the finals. No. No, yeah, that's interesting. I didn't look at that perspective before, and that. Yeah, absolutely right.
This is a kind of a good time for me to at least remind our viewers that if you like what you're seeing here, you should definitely subscribe to the channel. I don't make that horrible face all the time, just when I'm asking people to subscribe, but we're on a roll, a road to 2,000 subscribers, and it doesn't cost you anything. Just click that little logo in the bottom right, and it will get you subscribed. You can ring the bell if you want to get notifications on when we go live and have new videos. But even by just subscribing, that does a lot for me and my ability to make content. Tell us about how long you stayed on tour after that, because I know you made a show after that and beat Lisa Wagner on that show.
What?
Yeah. But how long did you keep going on tour?
So I was technically on tour for 7 years.
Okay.
And I made a telecast the first year I was there. I made a couple the year I won. And then we used to have the team. We used to have like a team tournament. I did telecast for that. I got to pick my own team. Yeah, 7 years. And at that time, I had gotten married during those 7 years. And one of the reasons why I decided to no longer bowl full time on the tour was, if I had a bad day or if I was sick, I still wanted a paycheck.
Yeah.
And you don't get that out there. And I wasn't fooling myself. I was not the top pro out there. I made some cuts. I made quite a few cuts. Made a few telecasts. I would help supplement. I didn't have too many sponsors. I sold shares of myself. And Merle Draper out of Burlington, he helped me with setting those things up. There are times where I bowled a swing where my credit card was my way of payment. And I knew how I was bowling, and I really enjoyed it, but I kind of felt like I needed some stability in there.
Yeah.
And that's really why I came back. I wanted to get some insurance, vacation days. I wanted just a normal life. I didn't want to miss. Not that missing February in Wisconsin is all that bad of a thing, because I missed every single February for 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Like I said, it's not the worst month, right, to miss for weather-wise. But it was just time. I wanted to be back home with the family and all that. I still would bowl regionals and bowl the states, the nationals, and all that stuff for that. But and when I was out on tour, I just have to say, because of like sponsoring myself or having partners and stuff, when I was out there, if I didn't make the cut or telecast, one of my 5 roommates probably did. Yeah. So I would actually be the statistician for the announcers during the telecast.
Oh.
So Denny Schreiner and Leila Wagner or whoever was the people speaking, I would stand next to them with the clipboard and the scores, and I would tell them the plus and minuses. I'd have to figure them out. And so when you're in the 10th frame and they need to know what does somebody need to win, I was the one doing that plus and minuses for them.
Oh, wow.
I got paid like $100 a week to do that.
Sure.
I'm like, hey, I'm there anyway. Yep. And all that. And experiences like that, you can't make up some of these stories that go on, because you're hearing everything in the truck. If any of you have ever been in a production truck or listen to it, that's where the real show is. Mm-hmm. But I remember, I don't remember the person's name. He was an ESPN person, didn't know bowling hardly at all. Everything was a point and all that. But if I didn't make the cut, he'd be there on a Wednesday with match play going on, and I'd sit next to him once in a while, and I would explain certain things, help him learn how to score. Mm-hmm. So he would score as he was doing the broadcast. And I remember one time where I'm writing a score and he's doing his score and ours are different.
Uh-oh.
And he like points at mine and says, it's wrong. And I look at mine and I look at his, I go, no, yours is wrong. Yep. But little fun things. So I always just like to keep busy, like to be involved in, if I'm not the one bowling, I want to be there to support my friends, do whatever I can to help.
Yeah. You mentioned the other stuff you were bowling, you were doing regionals, you were doing the national championships. Jenny was talking about, or messaging about, I should say, this is all in text, but that she was in Wichita at the same time as you back in 2003 for women's nationals. And she said that, she was able to watch Gina, bowl your winning double set, and it was just incredible to witness. She said you also drove together and roomed together at the Hoinky 20 years ago. That was a wild, good time. She says you're just the best, and she wishes she still saw you as much as she did back then. But let's talk about that 2003 tournament in Wichita. What was that like from your end?
The Wichita one is actually a team event that we won because Gina and I won doubles in Detroit. But that Wichita one, that's another one of those coolest moments I'll never forget. So back then, the week before the Queens tournament, a lot of your heavy hitting scratch teams would go out there and bowl like that week prior. And typically, if you could make it through that week, being in one of the top spots, you had a good chance that you might stay there. Not guaranteed, but you had a good chance because that's usually when anybody who's bowling the Queens, they get their tournament in before that, and then they would bowl the Queens. Yeah. And Janelle, Milligan and Ad, and her old teams, and our teams, and a lot of the teams that we crossed with their team all the time. One pick, there were tornado warnings all over the place going on while we were bowling too. We weren't sure if the power was going to stay on or anything like that. We were bowling good. Our teams were kind of watching each other. We knew the stats. And then going into the third game, we were down a little bit from those other teams. And I think it was the going in 9th and 10th frames specifically. I think every one of us on our team got at least the first 2 strikes in the 10th. Wow. If not everyone, 4 of us. And it was funny because I believe Wendy was our leadoff bowler. She struck out, and I don't know, she shot 260 or something like that. And then I think it was Marlis, and she got her. And then Gina got her stuff, and then I think I was 4th, and I got mine. And you're like, oh, I got mine. And Carol got hers, and we took over the lead, and we ended up winning because of that. And it was so cool to be part of that. And I remember Gordon Vatican coming up and just telling us how fun that was to watch us bowl, and because it was super cool. It was one of those moments where your team just clicked, and that last game, it was just, if you've ever been on a team where 2 of you have bowled 300s at the same game on the same team, I did that once with Jason Kaiser. Oh, wow. It's kind of that same feeling. I was like second bowler, and I got mine, and I'm like, I got mine. Yeah. And then he got his, and it's that it doesn't happen all the time. It probably only happened once, if any time in your life. Yeah. So, but that, yeah. Then I remember Gina and I getting in the vehicle. Her kids were at the hotel, and they were worried about going to Wichita in the first place because of tornadoes, because that's all they heard on TV is Wichita has tornadoes. Oh, and we had tornadoes, and we couldn't really go celebrate because it's bad weather. Things are closed. And we're joking about seeing cows flying in the air, and we're in Wichita, there's tornadoes, and we get to the hotel, and the Weather Channel people are there, and
oh boy,
the bar was closed. We couldn't even have a drink.
Oh,
so,
no. Hopefully, you made up for it after the fact. Yeah.
And I miss seeing Jenny as much too. I see her once in a while here, but
yeah, she's come on the show, and she also competes on the PWBA. She tells me that one of her stories was back in oh gosh, she didn't even say the year, but it was the day that she shot 854. And
chicken fingers.
Yeah, she said that you weren't bowling, but you were in the building. She said there were 12 women bowling 6 games to get into the top 4 step ladder, which was taped for local TV back then. It was called the Burlington All-Stars Tournament. She said she only shot like 540 the first 3 games, and she was 11th out of 12. She said that Jill very matter-of-factly said to her, so shoot 260 this game and get back to even, then you have 2 more games to catch up. She says she shot 267 game 4, and when she finished that game, she said she looked around for you, and you were about 6 lanes down in the concourse, and you made eye contact, and she said you gave her a nod like, there you go, you got this. She shoots 287, 300 the last two and qualified second for the TV show. She said she doesn't know if you know how much what you said to her impacted her mindset and really gave her confidence that day, because she said you were so sure, or seemed so sure anyway, that she could make that comeback. How is that for you?
Yeah, that's kind of emotional about that. I didn't realize how much that. I thought it was more that I think I got her an order of chicken strips, and that she did. I remember that part about after she ate those, she really bowled well.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's cool. I guess for any of us, I mean, we may have things that we've heard other people say that had changed our mindsets or inspired. And I guess for me, I never think about how sometimes my words can positive and negative, for those reasons if you happen to say things in the opposite way. But no, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that before, so that's touching. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. I asked Matt too. I said, how have you impacted, how has she impacted your career? And she said that, he said that his favorite Auntie Jill story is when he won the Addison sectional to make nationals. He said it was coming down to the last game, and while he had no clue of the scoring pace, he said that you wanted to make sure that he won. He said the person ahead of him had initials that were AO, and that you looked at his mom and aunt and said, there can't possibly be that many AOs in here. I'm going to go figure it out. So, sure enough, you went through all 70 something lanes in play, came back and said, there's only 2, and he passed them both. So I'm pretty sure, he said, I'm pretty sure they all went to the bar and had a shot in celebration.
Yes, correct. After we cried. That was awesome.
Yeah.
He earned that. He bowled so well, and he was on fire. And we were like 10 deep in the crowd. I'm like that though, where I want to know what I need to win. I want to know what others and I can look down, and my husband hates this because he's not like that. I'm like that. I want to know. And no, so that was cool because I know Matt's like that too. He wants to know what's going on and what he needs to do because, But it was funny is we're so far deep, and his aunt Darylyn was there, his real aunt, blood aunt, Darylyn was there, and I think Danielle, his mom, she was watching, I believe, Billy, his brother, down further, and that was one of our tasks is to make sure. I think it was Danielle said, make sure he gets there, does what he needs to do, and I'm like, we got you, we got him, and that. But there wasn't a dry eye. It was the coolest thing, and we're just so happy for him. And then he ended up second for the whole national thing, and he did. Those are the stories, right? You think back about things and you forget about some of those moments, and just reflecting back is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. They're a great family. Yeah, they started the Auntie Jill thing, and what's funny is they would call me Auntie Jill all the time. So others that were in the bowling center call me Auntie Jill as well. So I'm either Jilly or Auntie Jill and Jillsy. Those are like the if you're around me when Jilly is what Gina calls me all the time, and all the Hibbards and other people I bowl with, it's Auntie Jill. So which I love.
Yeah. You mentioned kind of reflecting back on that stuff. What about that team that you were on? The one that won twice. I mean, do you look back and think, man, that was a powerful team? I mean, you look at the talent, and you mentioned Wendy McPherson and Carol Giannotti and Gina and yourself. I mean, it was loaded.
Yeah. It's Here's the thing, though. You could have top 5 bowlers, top averages, and they can suck as a team.
Yeah.
We didn't have those attitudes or those egos where we were trying to beat each other. We were a team, and we had fun.
Yeah.
That's the thing. When I was on tour with the same group, we got labeled the Fun Bunch. We actually have a U.S. Open cover where we had to get the makeup and all that, and I actually came across it, and they call us the Fun Bunch because we bowl serious, but when it's off the lanes, we're golfing, we're doing this. We might have some drinks or whatever. But yeah, the teams for nationals. What was cool about so we won in Milwaukee, and we won in Wichita, and we were I think second or third a few times too. But in Milwaukee, what was neat is, we had several people say, "Oh, sure, they're rigged. They have all those, they have Carol, they have Wendy, they have Marlis." Gina and I were the top 2 scorers on that team. So we kind of put that to bed. We're not riding their skirt tails. We all are contributing. We're all doing our best. And winning that at home was awesome. And, they were my friends. I really didn't think of them as these top bowlers until people, were in line to get their autographs. And they were like, "Oh, that's right. They're good bowlers." No, they were our friends, and they are our friends. And, Gina got on board with them and got to meet them. I got to meet them on tour, and she fit right in, and she would host them at her bowling center when we were in town. And we did stupid things, so it's just cool that you can do all those stupid things and but still bowl well and win. Those are the things you cherish, and that's when it's your true friends too. Where I'm not going to share all of our secrets because that would be really bad. But I remember one time at Gina's place afterwards, and I'll just say it was Carol Giannotti. She wanted to see how far she could slide on the lanes. And I mean, stand at the foul line and dive into the heads and see how far she could slide.
Oh boy.
Well, this was after a couple shifts, so there wasn't much oil, so she didn't go very far. But
okay.
But it's.
I was going to say, hopefully the machine was turned off.
Oh no, it's at the foul line.
Okay.
She did it like she didn't. She didn't even make it to the arrows.
Okay.
No. So the silly things like this.
Yeah. No, that's cool stuff. The doubles title, with Gina, obviously you've had all these years bowling together against each other. What made it so you could win that title? I mean, what did you see out there? What did you say to each other? How did it come together?
So Gina's why we won the title, and I'll explain why.
Okay.
I was in a slump.
Yeah.
I was not bowling good for months. I got a new ball drilled. I don't remember what it was. It was an orange one. I'm so technical. We bowled team event. I want to say I had a very low 500 or something, just struggling. So we bowled doubles first. She's striking. She had a good team event. She's striking first game. I'm hitting the pocket. I left, I think, a 4-9 and a 7-10 in the first game, and I shot a 198. And I think she started 250 something. I'm like, second game we both did well. I think I had 250 something or something like that, and she had another good one. So now we're like, oh,
got something.
So we bowled the third game, and I was just so focused because I knew she was bowling so well, and I'm close. And then I had that good second game, and I put all the pressure on her because I made sure I finished first because I just knew. I mean, hey, I'm honest.
Yeah.
I forgot what I shot my last game, but I at least got, I think, the 9th and the first couple of the 10th, and then she went. That was one of those moments. Ooh, I got mine, type of thing.
Yeah.
And then she got hers, and then you post a score, and Carol and Wendy are, they're excited and congratulating, and we knew we took first, but it still had a month or so left to go.
So you got to wait.
Yeah, so we had to wait, and and there's like, you're 40 pins higher than what won it last year, and blah blah blah, but you never want to, if we could shoot that, someone else could shoot that. So
sure.
Yeah, it was cool. Then we bowled singles right after that, and I think I went back to my 5-0 or something like that. I mean, that literally was the only good set I bowled in months. So she was my inspiration. She started us off. She was bowling excellent. But I think the adrenaline and the excitement of that, then she didn't have a great singles, but because she had a good shot to even go for all events. But
Yeah.
it was so cool.
Came together at the right time. Yeah. I was asking Matt, since he has the UWM connection, of course, too, about the role that you took on in coaching at UWM. He said that that you started coaching because his mom asked you to help out. He said when his mom first started coaching the ladies, she thought who better to bring along than one of her best friends with an endless amount of bowling knowledge. He said he doesn't think that his mom thought you'd say yes, but then you did, and you were instrumental in building back that success in Milwaukee. What was that role like for you? What was it like to coach? I mean, you said, baked goods and mental game and all that, but I mean, when you're in the heat of the moment, like you said, knowing as a competitor, there's nothing like college bowling. But this is a different situation. This is their success has to be your success, right?
Right. So for me, I was flattered that she asked me to help coach, and I'm like, that'd be kind of cool. I mean, I bowled in college for a little bit, and if I can offer anything, and they're a club sport, so they don't get a lot of the big funding and a lot of different things. And Matt was bowling on the men's team already, and Chad Source was helping to coach with that too. And it really helped me to understand and learn more about today's college bowling.
Yeah.
And it's a grind. And I guess I didn't realize all that. At least not too much. And I wasn't sure how much time I could give it, and I didn't understand the format of it, and they had to explain all these things to me, and I felt very naive. But like I said, Danielle was really good with all the equipment, the technical stuff. Matt was very good with helping everybody too, and I'm just trying to figure out, what can I add? I don't want to confuse them. Danielle's in charge of the main parts of it, and I'm there to help support. I'm there for whatever she needs, whatever the ladies need. And you have all different levels. I mean, I remember there's one lady who had one ball and it was a conventional.
Yeah.
And then, kind of wondered why she wasn't striking.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a lot of different levels, but you want them to have fun. You want them to enjoy their experience in college too. And there are so many good teams out there, and the teams that we had, so I helped coach for a couple of years, we had some good bowlers and we had some good teams. And even though we had some who maybe were lower average, they worked well together, and they had pretty good success with what they had to work with in that. But I kind of felt that they just I felt like a therapist in some ways, but I felt like that was my strong suit, is just bringing up stories, helping them get their mind off of what's going on out there. It's not the end of the world if you don't do this. Or I brought up my 82 game embarrassing story and all that, and they looked at me like, you shot an 82 game. I'm like, yeah, it happens. It's what you do afterwards. Do you pick yourself up, or do you just let it get worse and then you just have no chance? And that's one of the biggest things I think can be taught, or people need to understand, is you start out your 6-game block that you're going to be there for 6 hours bowling with a bad game. You gotta keep pushing. You can't let that ruin your whole day. And I mean, so that's kind of what I tried to do. I try to make them laugh. I try to make them just think about different things. I try to learn their lingo of being 20 somethings, and just to be funny, but yet serious stuff too. And there was a point too where there's at least one individual or two that needed some what do you call it, tough love, or where
Honesty.
what, if you think you're gonna miss it, you know what, you will. And I flat out said that, if you're thinking that way, it's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're ready to change your mindset, let me know, and then we'll work together. So, but for the most part, I was trying to be the fun person and try to tell the stories, get their mind off things, and try to learn their their cheers that they created. Oh my God, that was like
That's probably the toughest part.
oh it's hilarious though. I love that. I mean, I would leave there deaf and sore from standing all day, but um, all the cheers, it was just so cool, so
Yeah.
cool. I did
Yeah.
not like all the um, inconsistencies with the uniforms that some teams had.
Okay.
As far as like, I remember being in meetings when I bowled in the ladies' league and we had to wear skirts. They had to be certain inches above your knee and all that stuff. And it's be your authentic self. I get it, but I don't want to see as much as I see sometimes. So
Yeah, that can be different, and
but no, I enjoy the coaching and I enjoyed just the experiences. The last year, not this year, but the year before, I didn't hit as many tournaments, but I tried to be there for to help wherever I could, and it was good. I enjoyed it.
yeah. Jay wants to
I
know.
ran into
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I ran into Sandra Joe because her son Alec was in
Oh,
Wichita, so
sure.
I got to see her at and I hadn't seen her in years,
Yeah.
and I didn't get to see Marlis and her husband Charlie. They were coaching, I think it was college from Michigan and all that. So it's talk about the full circle. You see Amaletto was coaching some teams, and you know a lot of other pros that are now helping, and so it was cool.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
talent.
What did Jay want to know?
That's okay. I was going to say, what a talent Alec Keplinger is. Man, one of the best in the nation for sure. He wanted to know our all college bowling tournaments team format. He said that's all he ever sees broadcasted, and I would say the majority are. Some events have a singles component, but mostly it's team or Baker or a combination of the two, because it's primarily a team sport. I mean, and that's kind of the fun of it, I think.
Yes, but they do have in some of the tournaments where they have like the all team. So there is an individual component. So they'll for the whole tournament or for the first day of qualifying, if an individual based on their scores, because they bowl 6 full games individually.
Yep.
So the top 5 made the all team for the tournaments. So they would get plaques and all that too. And then at the end of I don't know if it's just our conference or of other ones, they give away awards at the end of the year for, team players and stuff like that. But yeah, most of it is the team format, unless you bowl the was it sectionals, the one that Matt did, and then you end up earning your berth into national.
Yeah. Yeah, and Jay, if you look back on the channel, you'll find a couple. Oh, he says he's not a fan of that format. That's okay. Nobody's perfect, but if you look back on the channel, I did do some live streaming at an NCAA tournament called the Peacock Classic, which unfortunately is probably going to go by the wayside since Upper Iowa dissolved their college program. But if you watch that, you'll see there's a team component on the Friday, and then an individual component on the Saturday, and then match play for the teams on the Sunday. But the Saturday kind of determines the all tournament team and all that. And all the formats are a little different, but there's I'd say a majority of team and then some individual stuff kind of thrown in there. Matt also mentioned that you facilitated getting his mom into the Milwaukee Area Hall of Fame as well. She said that you and his brother sifted through years of results to put together her application.
His brother, Billy, so Billy Hibbard, he's got like a photogenic memory or something. Because, him and I were, and Ralph, Daniel's husband, we were trying to work together to get, without her knowing, we're trying to make that a surprise. She had definitely all the credentials. It's just that the form, you have to know what these are, and sometimes it's hard finding that information. Sure. But and she's got to get into the state one because she has all the credentials. And she knows we're working on that. So
okay,
I do remember I was driving and I got a phone call from her, and I think she had a really high pitched voice at the time because she had just got the phone call that she got in. So it was so cool. She deserved it. Yeah. She's such a good bowler.
Well, hopefully now that Donnie and Wriggles and the rest of them know that I'm here, maybe you can kind of help nudge her in a little bit. That probably wouldn't hurt.
Mhm.
Are you still bowling now? And the reason I asked that is because, I watched the video that they played before your Hall of Fame speech in Vegas, and the big booming voiceover says she's retired from competition now. Does that mean no bowling, or do you still bowl?
No, I'm not retired from competition. So what had happened is, just right before the pandemic,
Mhm.
I kind of threw my back out a little bit,
Oh,
and so I stopped bowling for a little bit. Well, then the pandemic happened,
sure.
and I wasn't going to be in a bowling alley hitting everybody's hands and stuff like that in the beginning.
Right.
And then I kind of got used to not bowling for a little bit. Well, then I did something to my leg, my IT band on my sliding leg. I'm still struggling with that, but I'm going to start bowling this season.
Oh,
So so it's been a couple years. I tried bowling. Well, I actually tried bowling a tournament with all the Hibbards and myself. It was a Baker tournament, and like the first game, I felt like someone took a steak knife and jabbed me in the thigh.
yeah.
And I ended up withdrawing, which I think is only the second time in my life. Actually, probably the first time I've ever had to withdraw. I bowled about 8 games of Baker, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So that was a year ago. So that's what I've been recovering from. So I'm not retired. I told in my speech, I think it was, that I'm going to try. I mean, I'm 54 years old now, so I can bowl all the senior stuff. I told Gina and Nat and Danielle, we're going to hit those. So, but I have a long way to go because I haven't bowled really serious in 2 years. But no, I'm not ready to give it up. Not unless my body fails me and I can't. But now's what I want to. I'm like, come on, it's been a while. So
Yeah,
I'll be back.
for sure. Once you get into it, it just doesn't leave you, does it?
It's the competition. It's the people.
Mhm.
I miss seeing all the people too. The bowling part. Okay, so with me in bowling, once I get my shoes on, I'm ready to bowl. I don't like all the pre stuff. Like, oh, I gotta do this. I gotta get ready. I gotta bring all the bags and I gotta, I just want to go and bowl.
Yeah.
But I know it's part of the game. I know you have to do everything with it. Um, but yeah, I just like the competition.
Yeah.
I love all the places I got to go because of bowling. When I was 16, I bowled my first nationals, and that was in Orange County, California. I went with the Irene who got me into the team. I got one with her daughter, Chris. Her sister lived in West Hollywood. I got to visit there and see the area. Her sister at that time was married to a future pseudo celebrity who was in some movies. I found a script that he had. He showed me the script for La Bamba that he was going for and all that. I
Oh,
got to see a bunch of different things at 16, and that really hooked me too. And I bowled every nationals. I think I had 27 in a row,
wow.
something like that, and just all the different places, just different experiences, the sights, the scenic stuff, the crazy things that happen, the unplanned stuff, the planned stuff. So, it that's the cool part about it, and I miss that, and I still want to continue to go to different places,
Yeah.
lugging
Awesome.
the balls around with me.
Yeah. But, it's bowling bags with wheels now, and it gets a little easier, right? Maybe.
Yeah,
Wishful
Danielle and I keep
thinking.
talking about you need to have those automated ones with the little remote control where you can just drive it with
Yep.
the wheels,
Yeah.
and same with ball racks. When are we going to come up with something where we don't have these balls laying all over the floor?
Right.
Have like a mobile ball rack where it fits the 3 ball bags and you just move one cart
Yeah.
with and you have to have it on there or something. We're smart people in the bowling industry, right? There's
Yeah.
got to be something with the small concourses. That's people get hurt because they're tripping over bags. There's got to be something that we can do.
Sure. Yeah. Either that or you just grab ball caddies named Matt and Billy, right?
There you go. Yeah.
So I told you before we went on, but we do a thing on this show called Off the Sheet, where I ask you to challenge somebody. Doesn't have to be the greatest bowler in the world, but somebody who's passionate about the sport and has a unique story to tell, as we all do. So, Jill Weber, who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling with the Fef?
I've been thinking about this, and I've struggled with an individual, but you know what? I think I come up with something.
Okay.
Now you have to tell me. I don't know who's all been on your show.
Mm-hmm.
Ralph Hibbard. Has he been
not.
on your show?
Nope.
So, and I want to explain. I was going to say Danielle.
Okay.
But I have to say that, you talked to Matt a lot. We talked about Billy. We know a little bit about Danielle, but I think Ralph is like he's a great bowler himself and all that, but he is such a promoter of the sport and has a lot of opinions on there, whether people agree or not. But him and his whole family, so him and Danielle, they're two incredible kids they have. That whole family is just such a good representation of the sport of bowling in so many different ways. So I would say Ralph Hibbard. I was going to say the Hibbards.
Yeah.
Pick a Hibbard type of thing. But
yeah,
I think that'd be kind of a cool thing because I think they have all different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And if he were to come on with Danielle, they wouldn't be the first husband-wife team to come on the show. So, that's always on the table too. But Ralph, if you're interested, you can find me on Facebook if you're a Facebook person. Otherwise, you can email me bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com. Jill would appreciate it, as would I, because I always love sharing new bowling stories, especially, folks like yourself who have big names in this game in the Milwaukee area and beyond. So yeah, I would agree that would be a great show. We are coming back on Wednesday of next week. Terry Howe is coming on. She's a Minnesota USBC Hall of Famer, and will share her bowling story 7 p.m. Central right here on the channel. But Jill, it's been a pleasure getting to know you and your bowling story, and best of luck getting back into things and knocking them down once again.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I hope people enjoyed some stories, and I'm an open book.
Awesome. No, that's the best part. And like I said, bar none, best sweatshirt in this show's history. So, UWM bowling is where it's at. And I'll say that because I used to be part of it, but it's the truth too. So, but yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Be Justin, fear not. We'll see you again next week.